Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back. Today, I want to talk about youth, aging, and regenerative properties for your body from the spiritual perspective. One of the things I do get asked a lot is my real age. In fact, a lot of people don't ask this because it simply is kind of rude or in your face, right? To just go up there and ask, how old are you? Nobody asks that. But most people assume what they assume when they see me. And sometimes it's through conversations and much prodding and pushing that then suddenly they ask, how old am I? And through that, I will share that I am not as young as they might think I am. So I am 43 years old this year. A lot of people then at that point, when they hear that, they would find it surprising, shocking, alarming, a mix of reactions, because they would think that I am younger than 43. Now, I'm not trying to attract controversial comments. Some might just think, oh, you look just like any typical 40-plus-year-old woman. Maybe to some people, I look just the age I should, but to some individuals, I look younger and fresher, perhaps more radiant. I would say that while there are actual traceable truths to why I would look this way, one is clearly, as most would see, I do have my makeup on. Secondly, because I am Asian, usually Asians do maintain their collagen and youth and the skin elasticity way better than most other race. And also, a lot of it is attributed to my lifestyle. My lifestyle in terms of what I eat, what I do, the way I do not party or drink or smoke or stay up late, things like that. So those are the real physical factors of me and my environment, what I do to have this look. Now, the thing is, I think I will be splicing in an image to show at this point that I do not always look young. In fact, in my past, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I looked older. At best, I look the age I would when I'm 20 plus or 30 years old. At best, I would look exactly the age I should be. On not so good days, which is actually a very big part of my time, in the 20 to 30-year-old range, I was going through a lot of stress, a lot of trauma, a lot of adrenal fatigue. That's why I want to bring up the point that I did not look as young as I was. In fact, I looked older. I looked tired. I was energetically aging. And that comes from the spiritual, a very spiritual place, which is why I want to talk about this now. The reason why I look young or younger than I would for a 40-something-year-old is because there is a lot of energetic aging that goes through a person's life. So why would you look older than your physical age? You might not realize that it is not just what kind of facial products you're putting on yourself. It's not what kind of facial procedures you've been through, whether, in fact, I don't want to go into that realm because that is not what I focus on. But I will say once again that I do not think that Botox, fillers, injections, and all that can bring you the quality of youth and regeneration if you don't put in the spiritual work. You may have the money, you may pay for these things. And again, if that is your thing, I have no any kind of opinions or judgments because I do not participate, I do not purchase these services myself, and I do not rely on these services. And so I don't have any kind of, I don't have any experience to share in the area. But if you were to ask me how I do it naturally, I would say that it is a lot of energy work. It is how you keep your energetic field clean. So in every lifetime that we have, we go through different kinds of challenges. And challenges, while on the pro side, it refers to a chance to learn, a chance to grow and elevate above the base level of our consciousness. It also means that with every challenge, there is chaos and there is stress. And what happens in these challenges? They usually involve our interaction and exposure to environments and other individuals who oppose us or triggers us or traumatize us in their own way. And this is why aging, besides the normal physical aging, can occur. And this is how aging can speed up in those instances due to cellular level factors. So we have different kind of chemicals that goes on in our body. That is the very basic structure of us as a human here. Biologically speaking, we have different kind of chemicals that are released when we go through different emotions, when we go through different situations. And therefore, if we have to go through different phase of our lives with different kind of distortion, misalignment, chaos, trauma, and triggers and projection, more often than not, this puts us in an energetic level that is heavier and requires more repair work from our body. Now, this wears the body down because soul and energetically speaking, you are needing more energy to recharge. You are needing more energy to renew. It is just like a person. If you are malnutritioned, some of the core things that will show up first in your body would be bone density issue, would be something's wrong with your blood work. Your organs are not as strong and robust as they should be because your organs, such as your kidney and liver, are the filtration system. And also through there, you produce different kind of chemicals and hormones that elevate your body's ability to renew itself. So from that cellular perspective, as you can see, if a person goes through a lot of physical stress, right? Putting more physical stress than the body should take. Or the person goes through a lot of emotional and mental stress due to the kind of exposure of the kind of environment they are with, or the people they're hanging out with, right? This kind of misalignment, this kind of distortion, obviously is one of the most core reason that can cause a person to age beyond their real physical age. So it shows up, and the biggest organ of our body is the skin. Usually the first thing that this stress shows up on is in your skin. The shine, so there are two ways to see glow, radiance, and shine. One is through our own naked eyes. You can actually see glow, radiance, and shine on a person. It is in the health of the skin. The other is the energetic glow, the halo effect, which I call this a halo effect. Just a little segue here. You notice that in Renaissance paintings or in paintings that are commissioned for religious purposes, such as old paintings of Jesus Christ or saints or Mother Mary, there is a halo. Now, this halo is a romanticized and a visualized version of a halo that is not normally seen with your naked eye, but through the artist's impression to show that this individual is enlightened, is conscious, is divine. They have a halo. Perhaps in the past, whoever saw these religious individuals like Christ, Mother Mary, or perhaps the disciples and the saints, and apostles, they truly saw an energetic glow around the individuals. Also, there are many paintings and depictions of Buddha and the various versions of Buddhas having this halo. So what I'm trying to say is that the halo effect is not perceived with the naked eye, but however, it is perceived with the psychic three-dimensional, the third eye, which is beyond 3 dimension. But people can feel your energy, not because they see that glow around you physically, but they see that glow around you energetically. Now, how to have that glow is when you carry your energy to a different elevated level. bringing me back to what I was saying just now, if a person lives in an environment and from day to day, the energy is one whereby it's more often dragged down to a very dense level where more the energy floats around the plane of distortion. Distortion is when there is much shadow work to be done. A person has very strong misalignment with their true self, and they do not understand certain misalignments that are going through within themselves and their inner selves and their soul's true desire, right? So the mind and the spirit are basically disagreeing, not communicating. The body does what the body would do, depending on who takes the lead or is the main driver of the vehicle. Is your spirit the main driver of your vehicle, or is your mind? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the mind is useless, and I'm not saying that the mind has no place in this trio of our being, the mind, body, and spirit. However, the main driver, I loosely coined this, the main driver of your vehicle should be your spirit, because it is the very essence. Almost, you can say it's the general, the leading commander that takes the direct orders from your soul. Your soul's truth, your soul's closest connection to its divine form gives orders to your spirit. So thereby, your spirit has the closest link to your truth and knowing what your higher self is trying to guide you towards. Therefore, I always say, who is the main driver of your vehicle? Is it your mind? Now, what does the mind do? In this world, the mind is very capable of, very, very capable of helping us survive. The mind helps your body survive, right? If your body is the vehicle, the mind helps your body survive by rationalizing, calculating, strategizing, being practical, and all this stuff. So the mind is not useless, the mind is very useful, it helps you survive. And the mind also is very much more connected to the egoistical part of us being a human. There are many terms I'm putting out here. I hope I'm not confusing you. When I say ego, and if you have seen my past videos, you would have heard me say this many times. Ego is not a bad thing. Again, it is every bit part of the human factor that we have ego. It's what gives us individualism, it's what sets us apart. But if ego is taking the main stage, if ego is the thing that is dictating your intentions, then your mind would be the main driver, or your mind would hijack the vehicle and take over the lead as a main driver. Then your spirit will be in the back seat. So as you can see, this is how distortion happens. When your mind and your spirit are at odds in terms of who takes the lead and make your body does what it does. So how a body ages depends on the alignment, depends on the cooperation between your mind and your spirit. You see? So if you could visualize, you can see this is how it goes. The alignment that I'm always talking about. Every part of your being is useful. You are one when all three are working as a well-oiled machine, aligned and walking the path in the correct direction that your soul set out to go. But if there is no communication from your soul to your spirit, and your spirit does not take the lead and communicate to your body where you should be heading, this brings us to the point where I'm going to say, in the multiple quantum realities of your choices, you would be walking the path where you are going down that reality that brings you closer to your aging process, or rather the accelerated version of your aging process. Then that is why you might find yourself older than your real physical age. On the contrary, if you are aligned, walking your truth, and even into the dimension of your consciousness, whereby your density is lighter and elevated, the divinity that you're channeling, the source code and power that you are, I won't say consuming, but rather it is almost like a consumption, right? Consumption and becoming almost like downloading the real direct source and code of where you are meant to be headed. The clarity would give your spirit peace and bliss and oneness that leads you closer and even in your own power, able to navigate to that quantum version of yourself that is younger than your physical age. Thus, this is the work that I do, and this is why I promote. So if I were to dumb this down, if I were to simplify this, I usually do not start at the level of talking about the different quantum realities and the different plane of existence that you could be in, because in my course, I will go into details. But if I were to meet a person for a first time and they were to ask, how do you look younger than your real physical age? Besides telling them that in this world and existence that we are in, there is a clean lifestyle to lead so that you preserve, you do not abuse your temple. You do not abuse your physical being and put it through more stress than you should. That's of course the thing to do as a human if you want to maintain this body. That's the physical part of it. But energetically, there's maintenance too. Energetic maintenance, right? Because everything we do and everything we intend and feel and perceive, and the kind of inner talk we have with ourselves, the kind of connection we may or may not have with our higher selves, is the energetic and spiritual part of the work that helps us become more aligned and have more clarity. Even if we are going through certain seasons where we go heavy into our shadow work. Shadow work is nothing to be afraid of. And yes, it's true, it comes in seasons. It does not entirely, it's not like you do it one time and you're fixed. Because again, we are creatures of having ego as part of our human condition. Thereby, having shadow work constantly and having to retune and recalibrate ourselves and with our inner selves is absolutely essential. But when you do it, it gets easier and it gets smoother. The process gets more lubricated and less resistance when you keep your field of energy clean from not allowing external chaos distract you, from not allowing unnecessary distractions. So let me just pull a few examples of unnecessary distractions. One, I actually literally just had this conversation a couple of days ago. One is not participating in drama. It's something as simple as that. Not participating in drama that is not yours. I do pull the Tower card for a lot of people very frequently, and the Tower card is nothing to be afraid of. What I like to explain to people is the Tower card is the universe giving you some drama because it is needed. Now that is drama you can't avoid, and that is for your growth. But then let me ask every one of you, would you seek out more drama on your own if it's not coming to find you? Would you seek out more trouble and chaos and unnecessary disturbances in your daily life if you can prevent it? If your answer is yes, then wonderful, because then you're on your way to understanding what this all means. See, the thing is, in our modern day, there are a lot of distractions out there, of whether it's from TV entertainment or YouTube or social media entertainment or info content, whatever you want to call those, or reality TV. Who is with who is not with who is the hot thing, who's not the hot thing, who's in, who's out. You know what I'm talking about. While it's fun sometimes to just partake in a tiny sliver of these, based on the algorithm of your search, how they get thrown at you, right? Again, if you don't seek it out, this is a very energetic thing. If you don't seek it out, the algorithm won't give it to you. And so if you have a tendency to seek it out, right, from the way you search for information, for the way you search for news and content and fun, the algorithm will feed you what you want to see. And then you just go down that rabbit hole of relishing every morsel of drama that exists in other people's world, other people's drama, and you turn it into entertainment for yourself. While it might seem harmless, but partaking in other people's drama distorts your energetic field. So if this does not paint a picture of how this can be scary, then observe what happens if you give yourself 1 week, just 1 week, do a little test. If you are a fan of watching celebrities and their shenanigans, give yourself 1 week to totally cold turkey wean off yourself from any of that reality stuff, even reality TV on Netflix, whatever you call those. And if you do like to watch them, give yourself a week. If you can do it, a month. Wean off that stuff. And you realize how much more peace you're getting. And with that peace, you have better clarity. You think better. Now, the other kind of drama is other people partaking in their own daily life drama and then gathering to share the drama by hashing it out with, I won't call it hashing it out, okay? It's more like they are dishing out the dirty laundry in a possibly friends group. I see that happening a lot. It's okay to support your friends if they're in trouble. It's okay to talk about mental health issues if you have close friends you like to share it with. It's very different from that though. There are individuals and people who like to gather almost on a regular basis and very often over alcohol. I say this with no judgments. I hope everybody realizes I say this with no judgments, but I rather say this from an observation and nurturing perspective, that if I can send this message across, I hope that it makes sense to you. That if there is a fine line between I care about you, let me hear your problems, or rather, I'm vulnerable with you because you're my dear friend, let me share my problems. So these are still in the healthy boundaries of talking about personal things, and then like measuring out, am I wrong, am I right with this person? Things like that, But there is this fine line that can be crossed when you gather together to trash it out, to rant, to gossip, to verbal bash, and emotionally partake in that rage and anger together. The energy of one person's anger or resentment or sadness towards a situation is a lot. But when you share it with a few other individuals who are not dissipating and soothing and making it better, but rather adding on to it, the common term is adding more oil to the fire. When this activity happens, when people add oil to the fire for any discussed topic, when friends get together, that energetic multiplication is obviously, the amplification is there, and everybody shares it. It's almost like if I were to have a poison bomb explode in the middle of the room, full of people, if everybody is hiding away in their own corner and trying not to over interact, at least the main part of that poison does not spread to everybody as fast or like get to your system faster. But if you gather and you partake in this core feeling, could be resentment, could be anger, could be a lot of things, right, based on the scenario. When you come together and do that, you amplify, you share it, and then you spread it further, because then you bring it home with you, whoever was there to participate, and then you can bring it home, and then you spread it. There's a ripple effect. You spread it to your loved ones, right? And just this thing itself. Why is it I spend so much time talking about it? Because it's one of the very common things that I see happening in everyday lives for a lot of people. And then they bring this worry and sadness, someone else's problem, right? They bring this back, they amplify it, they keep it in your vessel, in your body, in your mind. You keep it in your heart. You keep it in everywhere. It's fully immersed in you. If you care enough about that person when you hear whatever they're going through, you probably will bring it back with you to a good degree. And if, again, like I say, if you did not dissipate the anger, your purpose was not there to soothe and dissipate and create more peace, rather to add more oil to the fire, then you would have fully absorbed and amplified that negative energy. Thus, bringing more stress to your body, bringing more aging to the necessary actual aging you're meant to go through. So this is one other problem that's existing right now. Now, finally, the last one I want to talk about is if an individual constantly goes through a huge amount of misalignment with their personal choices, major choices in life. And I think if you're watching until this point, you probably would be one of those people who can understand what I'm going to talk about, which is if you find yourself having to go through a big conflicting period of whether to make a choice A or choice B on something. Major choices in life causes us to have so much, okay, depending on how long we drag on the absolution of that choice and coming to a conclusion. When a person hum and haw on very heavy choices, in the quantum field, we open up various realities of ourselves. Frankly, I'm not going to say that opening up all those realities is going to be absolutely harmful every time. Sometimes some of the quantum versions of ourselves that we opened up will become quite inconsequential over time if we stay true and we are resolved in our choices. We're actually sure of our choices, and we stay true and we walk that path with no regrets. But what I'm trying to say is, when a person, if you have to go through a period where you make a serious consideration for options or choices, and even when you made that choice, there was a lot of residual misalignment, which could come in the form of, which would come from guilt, regrets, uncertainty. Not necessarily immediate even. It could come after a while. Maybe you make a choice to do something and then you do that thing, you go on with that choice, you do that thing. Then after maybe a year or two, after a while, you start to have regrets. You start to have unresolved feelings about your choice. Then that's where the dissonance will come. That's when the misalignment will show up. And when that happens, the other quantum realities of what other possible choice you could have made would cross energy with your current reality. Now, when that happens, your body, even though yes, it's existing in this reality of what you've chosen, the other version of you that could have been something else, looking the way it would in another reality, that crossing of energy causes even more disturbance. Imagine a car driving on a 16-lane highway, and that car can never really make up its mind if it wants to be on lane 1 or lane 3 or lane 8 or lane 10, and that car It's constantly switching lanes on the highway. Isn't it dangerous? Isn't it very precarious? Not only to other cars in its vicinity of the car, okay, I'm using metaphoric, as you can see. If the car is constantly wanting to switch lane, even if it tries, perhaps it can't really switch the lane. But if the car is constantly attempting to switch lane and not deciding on that one lane and driving safely to its target destination on that one lane, but it's just constantly like, hey, I'm on lane 3 now. Perhaps I might try lane 8 and see if I can get there faster. Oh boy, I'm on lane 8 now. After a bit of struggle and try, I'm on lane 8 now. Hey, it looks like someone on lane 5 is doing better. How about let me try lane 5 now? And this constant dissonance of choices is going to cause a lot of physical stress to your body. This is an energetic level physical stress to your body. So this is one thing that I see showing up for a lot of people. And this is something that will also be brought up, and I'll go into huge details when I do my course. So I don't want to drag this out. I mentioned the top 3 common occurrences in our daily lives that can cause a person to look older than they should. One is over-consuming drama that is not yours to have. Second is taking whatever low negative energies and feelings that you might be having and participating in a group activity to share that on account that you are not solving the issue, but rather to amplify that negative energy, whether it comes from you or whether you're participating in this kind of activity when the negative energy comes from someone else. Basically, it's like sharing your germs. So it's like sharing your germs. So that's the second thing that can commonly happen, and does commonly happen. And then the third is the dissonance of choices, the inability to make proper resolve choices and sticking to it, and not having wavering thoughts and feelings regarding your choices. That can also bring you closer to an older look than you desire in the quantum field. So these 3 things, and I will want to go into details if you're keen to learn more, if you want to hear more about this, and go into a masterclass that can help you realize what's going on for you, how you can regenerate your physical being and bring yourself closer to the young version of you and the more radiant version of you. I have a course called Quantum Youth Codes. This course is available to groups of 4 individuals. I like to keep it as a tight group. Or if you want to do it one-on-one coaching with me, it's also available. I'll drop the links and details in the description box below. Thank you for your time. I hope this has been helpful for you to learn how to bring yourself closer to you in your own way. And I'll see you at the next video. Bye.